Okay, friends, so now that we've gone and we've analyzed two different characters that are put in the same situation, like our male performer and our female performer, and we've kind of discussed what their perspective was, such as the boy was obviously a boy, which was a huge difference. He's also got more flowers than the girl performer, whereas the girl got fewer flowers than he did, even though they were doing the same job. And that kind of helped him be very prideful, and he felt very accomplished with his performance, and he felt happy throughout the whole time. Whereas the girl, even though she was doing the same exact job as the boy, had less flowers, was kind of upset, and rightfully so, that she didn't get the same recognition from her boss as the boy did, even though they did the same job. She kind of felt sad at first, and then once her boss finally started recognizing her, that is when she started to feel good about herself. So, remember how our objective was to write about a time where you have felt a bit discouraged, you felt a little underappreciated, and I've given you an example of a time. I'm also going to give you one more example that can kind of help you go through your writing. Okay, so there was a time when I was in 4th grade, and I was always really good at math, and I had this boy in my class that was also really good, and we would kind of compete between each other, and I'm not going to lie, he usually would win. He would get better grades than me sometimes on our tests, or sometimes we would be just the same, and it always irritated me. I always wanted to do better. So there was one day where I actually did a lot better. I got a higher score than him, and I was so proud of myself. I could feel the goosebumps coming and just being super, super emotional about it. And when the teacher gave us our papers, she made a weird comment about, you got a better grade than he did this time? And I kind of felt a little discouraged, just like the female performer did, because usually he would get praised when he would get the best score, and this time I got the better score, and she just kind of went, you got the better score? And I asked her, well, I told her yes, and why is it that she is surprised? And she said, well, you know, boys usually do better in math. And that pride that I once had, just like the girl performer, where she initially was very prideful of her job, but then when the boss came, which in this case my boss was my teacher, didn't recognize us the same amount as the male performer, I felt a little discouraged. So, you have an example as well as mine. So we have a mentor text and a personal experience that's been shared with you. I want you to think about a time where you also felt like our female performer, where you did the same job as someone else, and somehow you did not get the same praise on it. Okay? And once you think you've got one, I want you to give me a thumb up so we can share before you go on your own. And just a reminder, if you're kind of a little, I don't know what to write about, think about the first time you might have felt that way, or the last time it's happened, or maybe even the time you realized that it's happened. If that still doesn't get to you, you can also think about a strong emotion. So maybe a time where you felt very angry or hurt, that might have been because you also felt unappreciated.